Hello. Okay, so I want to talk about how to forgive people who don't believe you're sick. And this is a tough one, but I think it's really, really important, and it's been on my mind a lot. And it's been really helping me to feel a lot better and a lot happier. And so I want to talk about that and how I have kind of come to practice this every day. So I want to talk about specifically what it looks like to live with an invisible illness, how to deal with people who don't believe you're sick, and how forgiveness can play such a huge role in helping us to heal even more deeply. So maybe you struggle with chronic illness like I do, or maybe you know somebody who struggles with chronic illness. It is never easy, especially when people don't understand the severity of it and how it can dominate your life and just steal so many moments of your life. Just know that you are not alone. Many people are going through the same thing. Many people feel the same way. I have surely struggled with this over the last couple of years, especially. I found out I have mold and Lyme and Bartonella and possibly some other stuff, and many people in my life have no idea what it's like day to day to deal with these kinds of things. And I've even got, some unhelpful comments and just some really hurtful things that have happened that have created a lot of bitterness and resentment and anger and sadness and all kinds of things over the last couple of years that really poisoned me and took up a lot of space in my brain and took up a lot of time in my life where I would just be really mad about this stuff. And so recently, as I've been learning about trauma, the importance of healing trauma and how that helps to heal the body when you're dealing with trying to heal from chronic illness, forgiveness has been one of those things that I've been really, really focusing on. What does it look like to live with an invisible illness? Well, living with an invisible illness is really hard because most people have no idea anything about the illness that you're dealing with. You tell them and they're like, okay. And to you, you're dealing with something that is affecting every damn day of your life. And you have all these symptoms, and you maybe spent years trying to figure out what was wrong with you, or maybe you're still trying to figure out what was wrong with you, and you feel like Western medicine has failed you, and you've spent so much money, and you have seen so many doctors and tried so many treatments and just have been through the ringer only to still feel the way that you have this whole time. The really tough thing about it is that family can be cold and unsupportive and distant when you really need them, and friends certainly can be that way. A lot of people lose friends dealing with invisible illness, and then doctors will really invalidate you and make you feel stupid and cause you to question yourself. It's very devastating and very frustrating how behind Western medicine is at recognizing things like Lyme and mold and all this stuff. I'm sure there's so many other ones. I'm just talking about the ones that I specifically deal with that they don't recognize as real and that they don't know how to treat. And then you throw in there the fact that insurance companies won't cover most of the doctors and treatments and tests that people really need in order to get healthy. So you've got all these people spending so much money, and they don't really have very much support emotionally or financially or in a lot of ways. I've been very fortunate. My husband is very supportive. I have a couple people that I can talk to, and then I've got some support groups online. I'm so thankful for that. Some people have no one except for the online support groups, or maybe they haven't even reached that yet. So it's a very lonely, very isolating place to be for a lot of people in a lot of different ways. I have often gone between feeling gaslighted and depressed, angry, sad, mournful, whatever, all the feelings of that loneliness, of people not really understanding or not really caring to understand, not asking how I'm doing, changing the subject when I start to talk about what I'm going through, because it's on my mind all the time because I'm always going through it. And, you know, we talk about the physical toxins that need to be removed from our bodies all day long in this world of mold and Lyme or whatever. But equally as important is detoxing our mind, because all of those emotions that I just stated that I was feeling a lot. And very quickly, those things, which are totally normal to feel, and it's good to feel things and work through, you know, sadness. You shouldn't suppress those things, but they can very quickly get out of control and turn into a very toxic thing for our minds and really stress us out and put us in this very high stress place where we're hyper fixated on it. And that also is something that is, I think, important to detox from the body, from the mind. And I totally get it. I mean, people's comments made me feel like it was all in my head. It turns out that for a lot of us dealing with these kinds of illnesses, it is in our head. It is in our heads, because these pathogens will actually get into our brains and wreak all kinds of havoc. So it's pretty ironic that people say that. And it's also ironic that most of the time people will report that their families are just telling them they're stressed out. I certainly got that a lot, but I think it's really ironic that when people would say, like, you know, maybe it's just stress, that that comment only makes us more stressed, because then we start to think like, oh, am I crazy? Am I hypochondriac? Oh, I'm so embarrassed. Like, am I just making this all up? And blah, 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 blah. I know for me, some days I'm fine. Other days I'm so not. And on the days when I'm not, I really try to just stay home and not see people. But there are some times when you can't avoid people and it's really hard to hide it. And there have been times where I will, you know, share how I feel, you know, because why should I have to fake that I feel great when I'm not? And then you get these comments from people, and then it makes you really insecure to share how you're feeling the next time, because you know, even though you're not faking it, people are going to think that you're trying to get attention or whatever. Maybe you can relate to this. I'm a very emotional person. I've always been really in touch with my emotions, my feelings, and I'm not afraid to share my feelings, and I wear my heart on my sleeve. And I think that there is this idea out there that maybe people who are like that are just exaggerators and really dramatic and can't be trusted. But even though they kind of made me think, like, maybe I am just an exaggerator, maybe I can't be trusted, like, but I know now I was not exaggerating what I was going through. But because I was all of a sudden experiencing like a myriad of symptoms, and they were really intense and they were all the time, I was talking about it more. But after months and months and months of seeing doctors, tons of doctors, and trying treatments and still having these issues, people were just as confused as I was as to why I wasn't getting better. And some people even seemed irritated and bothered by it. I just started to feel like a burden to people. Like I was just that friend who is always sick and is just so stressed out. And I became really insecure about sharing how I was really feeling, because I didn't want people to think that I was just trying to get attention or making it up. And you start to question your own sanity too. Like I said, you really start to wonder, am I crazy? Maybe they're right. But as time went on, I knew, like, no, they're not right. I'm not crazy. This is real. My experience is real. I'm really, really struggling right now. Now we're going to move to the positive and the hopefully helpful stuff. I think it's really important to look at those people who have hurt you and look at it from their perspective, as hard as this is. And remember this, even though it's very common for people to make hurtful comments when it comes to this kind of stuff, and even though your experience of loneliness and this whole experience that you're going through is totally valid, it's real and it is valid, it's easy for people, or at least it was easy for me, to become so hyper fixated on every comment, every slight, every person who is, absent or distant, and then become paranoid about what people think about me. Like really paranoid. And even though, like people gossip, people talk, they say unsavory things, they, spread rumors or whatever, those people were not thinking about me nearly as much as I was thinking about these comments that they made. By focusing on this all the time, we take something that really does sucks when people aren't there and don't believe you, and turn it into this vicious monster. Because we can't control other people, we can only control ourselves. So the stuff that I'm talking about is just us figuring out how to take responsibility for what we can do in this situation to improve the situation.